A hot mic exchange between Donald Trump and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg just leaked to the public, and, well, let's just say both of them can expect to get unfriended in the very near future, which is still better than either deserves. And by the way, I know Zuckerberg renamed his company Meta, which is a lame attempt at rebranding. It's just Facebook, Mark. Get over it. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. Coming out of the 2024 election, one topic that initially dominated conversation before falling by the wayside, the role of technology companies in shaping electoral politics, and whether or not a private company policing content on its platform somehow amounted to censorship. For the record, it does not. If a newspaper refuses to run a manifesto written by a serial killer, that's not blocking or punishing the psycho from saying what he wants to say. It just means the newspaper won't amplify it. During the pandemic, President Biden urged tech companies to fight the spread of misinformation. Of course, given that it cost these companies more, not to mention bestowed upon them more responsibility, that didn't last long.
Well, I took it as a change in strategy. Zuckerberg spent months and more than a year apologizing, justifying Facebook's actions, saying we're working on it, we're hiring people. Now he's changing to either you're with us or against us. Either you're in the line for free speech and free expression, or you're not. It's a classic politician ploy of taking a very complex issue, making it black and white, and putting yourself on the best side of that issue.
And if that made you reach for the anti-nausea medication, be warned, it gets worse. In the Trump era, one where social media companies are drunk on power, and given Trump's demands for fealty and general behind-licking, it should come as no surprise that last night Trump hosted a cavalcade of tech CEOs at the White House for a little love fest. Take a look.
Well, thanks for hosting us. I mean, this is quite a group to get together, and I think all of the companies here are making huge investments in the country in order to build out data centers and infrastructure to power the next wave of innovation. So it's, we don't often get together as the CEOs of the different companies, but it's good to see everyone.
Now, amid all the praise and fighting over who gets to hold Trump's jockstrap, one interesting moment did transpire before the cameras. Stay with me here. But first, can we take a moment to think about how pathetic this whole thing is? These are some of the most wealthy and powerful men in the world, and they're falling over themselves to compliment a man they clearly loathe, or at the very least, find odious. But rather than use their influence to get rid of him, they just want to make sure they avoid tariffs, Justice Department and labor investigations. Wimps. They're wimps. And I say that as a big nerd myself. Grow a pair, boys. You have the technology to do it. But I digress. During the dinner last night, a reporter broached the question of free speech in the United Kingdom, something the Trump administration has focused on since the UK actually fights the spread of misinformation, which means charlatans like Trump can't get elected. Earlier this year in the UK, Zuckerberg also came under fire for trying to block a memoir by Facebook's former director of global public policy, Sarah Wynne Williams, which did not portray him in a sympathetic light, to say the least. When a reporter brought the issue to Zuckerberg, he first acted unprepared before a hot mic caught him sharing his real feelings.
And Mr. Zuckerberg, if you don't mind answering, how concerning is that to you, the lack of freedom of speech online in the UK?
You didn't think you'd get that question, did you? He's looking at me saying, how the hell? He's saying, how did I get that question? If you'd like to answer, free speech.
Sorry, I actually wasn't paying attention, but sorry, I wasn't ready to do for announcement.
He said, I wasn't sure what number you wanted to go with.
I thought that was quite a moment.
Quite a moment. These guys all thought that the free speech and censorship issue that was such a big deal in the first administration was behind them. And so I do think Mark Zuckerberg was, really caught off guard there. But they're hoping is that it can continue to be behind them, Caitlin. As long as they can focus on AI and innovation, they don't ever have to worry about all of that Republican heat against them for what was so-called censorship.
Yeah, and Laura Loomer tonight is criticizing the White House for hosting people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates there. Sarah Fisher, always great to have you. Thanks for that.
I'd say this is what you call a funny moment that's not ha-ha funny. It's just sort of disturbing and pathetic funny. Zuckerberg, one of the biggest nerds I've ever seen, and I say that as a nerd with no hand-eye coordination myself, now wants to portray himself as a red-meat, all-American Trumper man, which, in its absurdity, is equally pathetic. Here's somebody with extraordinary power, intellect, and resources proving he has no interest in real issues beyond his own personal vendettas, no knowledge of world affairs, and no shame in the way he bows to Trump, not to mention a total lack of charisma. At all. On the other hand, Zuckerberg is unwittingly providing an example of how future presidents wary of the power of big tech or other nefarious companies could deal with these CEOs. Make them grovel, break up their companies, then see what someone like Zuckerberg has to say about free speech. I'm sure he would have very different thoughts if he had to do more than feign affection for Donald Trump to protect his own behind. This is Occupy Democrats.